Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. I am Ratih Devianti Nur. Today I'm gonna read aloud some article, and the article is talk about bullying. 4 decades of research on school bullying. An introduction. Sally Hamel, University of British Columbia. Susan M. Swearer, University of Nebraska Lincoln and Born This Way, Foundation, Los Angeles, California. This article provides an introductory overview of findings from the past 40 years of research on bullying among school-age children and youth. Research of definitional and assessment issues in studying bullying and victimization is reviewed, and data on prevalence rates, stability, and forms of bullying behavior are summarized, setting the stage for the 5 articles that comprise this American psychologist's special issue on bullying and victimization. These articles address bullying, victimization, psychological sequelae and consequences, ethical, legal, and theoretical issues facing educators, researchers, and practitioners, and effective prevention and intervention efforts. The goal of this special issue is to provide psychologists with a comprehensive review that documents our current understanding of the complexity of bullying among school-age youth and directions for future research and intervention efforts. School bullying has been around for as long as anyone can remember, featured in Western literature for over 150 years, e.g. Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, Dickens 1839 or Slice 1966, Thomas Hayes, Tom Brown's School Days, Hayes 1857, and so on. Today, bullying permeates popular culture in the form of reality TV and violent video games, and in our free market capitalist society. In contrast, empirical research on bullying is a relatively recent focus. The earliest studies emerging in the 1970s in Scandinavia, always 1978. In North America, public concern about school bullying increased dramatically in the late 1990s, owing in large part to the tragic deaths of our youth by suicide, Marr and Fields 2001, or murder, especially the 1997 murder of Rena Godfrey 2005, and the Columbine Massacre in 1998, Cullen 2009. Since then, bullying has received unprecedented attention in the media and in academia, both nationally and internationally, e.g. Jimerson, Swearer, and especially 2010, and remains a significant concern among parents and educators. Inspired by the 2011 U.S. White House Conference on Bullying, hosted by President and First Lady Obama and the Department of Education, this special issue was undertaken, inviting recognized scholars to critically review current research and theory on school bullying in an effort to inform future research and practice. Here, we describe some of what we have learned over the past 40 years, setting the stage for the 5 articles that comprise this special issue. What is bullying and how do we assess it? Following the pioneering work of Olweus, 1978, 1999, 2001, bullying has been defined as a subcategory of interpersonal aggressions, characterized by intentionality, repetition, and imbalance of power, with abuse of power being a primary distinction between bullying and other forms of aggression. E.G. Smith and Morita 1999, Valancourt, and so on. Scholars generally endorse these characteristics, as does the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, Gladden, Vivolo, Hamburg, and so on, the American Psychological Association, and the National Association of School Psychologists 2012. However, assessment of bullying do not always emphasize these components. See Hamburger, Basil, and Vivolo, and so on. 2011 Compendium of Assessment Tools, making distinctions between bullying and other forms of aggression less clear. See Rodkin, S. Pallage, and Hannis 2015. Moreover, children's descriptions of bullying rarely include this definitional criteria. Moreover, children's descriptions of bullying rarely include the definitional criteria. Valancourt et al. 2008, leading many researchers to provide definition of bullying in their assessments. Much debate exists regarding the best method and informant for assessing bullying and victimization. E.g. Cornell and Cole 2012, and so on. With measurement issues heralded as the Achilles heel of bullying research, Cornell, Serras, and Cole 2006, although some suggest use of multiple information to establish psychometric adequacy, e.g. Juvonen, Nishina, and Graham 2010, the reality of assessing a complex underground behavior involving multiple participants and influenced by multiple factors is that there may be no single gold standard for accuracy. Bullying has been assessed via parent, teacher, and peer reports, as well as direct observations, but most rarely on self-report assessments, despite concern about biases related to social desirability, self-presentation, and fear of retaliation. Pellegrini 2001. Self-reports are economical and efficient and give youth a much deserved voice in the assessment process. Tapping perceptions of both victims and perpetrators. Although more time-consuming, peer assessments are viewed as an alternative to self-reports, e.g. Cornell and Cole 2012, especially given observational evidence, Poplar, Craig, and O'Connell 2010, that peers are present in at least 85% of bullying incidents. Based on information from multiple informants, peer assessments can provide unique information about bullying. For example, Chan identified two major patterns of bullying using peers reports. Serial bullies named as perpetrators by multiple victims accounted for nearly 70% of victims' reports. Most of the remaining reports reflected multiple victimization, with several perpetrators bullying the same individual. Self and peer reports, however, demonstrate only modest correspondence. Range 2 to 4 Branson and Cornell 2009, and so on. Teacher and parent reports are more suspect, given that bullying occurs primarily in the peer group, especially in places with little adult supervision, e.g. Vaillancourt, Britain et al. 2010. Parents often have limited knowledge of what happens at school, and teachers may not actually witness bullying, Cornell and Brokenbrock 2004, or may choose to ignore it, Craig, Papler, Atlas 2000. Rather than debating the superiority of one approach over another, we echo Juvonen et al. That this be considered complementary sources of information, each contributing to our understanding of bullying. Moreover, selection of an assessment approach depends on the nature of the research questions. If the accurate identification of victimized children is the focus, Phillips and Cornell have demonstrated the utility of using a combination of peer assessment, confirmed subsequently through interviews by school counselors, underscoring the value of investing greater efforts to assure accuracy in identification. A primary focus has been on evaluating school-based interventions. See Bradshaw 2015, for which peer reports may be less sensitive to change over time than self-reports, as they're often based on reputations that may not shift as with behavior change, Himmel and so on. At the same time, Frey, Hirstein, and so on, found self-reports to be less sensitive to change than more costly and time-consuming observations. Still, across informants, it is clear that far too many of our youth are victims of bullying at school, a place they are required by law to attend. How prevalent is bullying and victimization? Documented prevalence rates for bullying vary greatly across studies, with 10% to 33% of students reporting victimizations by peers and 5% to 13% admitting to bullying others, e.g. Cassidy, and so on. Such variations reflect differences in assessment approaches as well as differences across individual sex, age, context, and cultures. Typically, boys report more bullying than girls, but girls report more victimization, e.g. Cook, and so on. Developmentally, peer bullying is evident as early as preschool, although it peaks during the middle school years and declines somewhat by the end of high school, e.g. Curry et al. And so on. A recent Institute of Educational Studies report, based on a national sample of over 4,000 youth at 12 to 18 years, the November 2011, showed declines in victimization from 37% to 22% from grade 6 to 12. Prevalence rates also vary across countries. In a recent report by the World Health Organization, WHO, Curry et al. 2012, examining bullying and victimization among 10, 13, and 15 years old in 43 countries, rates of victimization varied from 2% to 32% across countries, and rates of bullying varied from 1% to 36%. Is bullying on the rise? Findings from the WHO survey, Carrero 2010, indicated an overall decline in peer victimization in most countries over previous years. Although the decline was small, usually less than 10%, see also Rigby and Smith 2010. In the United States, youth reports of cycle bullying declined from 22% in 2003 to 15% in 2008, Finkelhor and so on. But online harassment increased from 6% in 2000 to 11% in 2010. Jones, Michel, and so on. Thus, although traditional forms of bullying may be declining, cyberbullying appears to be on the rise as access to technology becomes more ubiquitous. How stable is peer victimization? Peer victimization is often characterized as a rather stable experience, e.g., once a victim, always a victim. But stability estimates vary as function of time, age, and methodology. Teacher and peer reports show higher stability, e.g., range and so on, than self-reports, e.g., range and so on. Generally, victimization is somewhat transient among younger children, e.g., Baslet and so on, but becomes moderately stable for middle elementary students. Over both short intervals, 4 to 5 months, Gottman, Stormhart, and so on, and across 1 or 2 years, Belmore and Silensen 2006, Light and Coach-Verlet 2002, and so on, with 40% to 50% of students reporting consistent victimization. Chauhan 2004. As time intervals increase, stability estimates decline, lending some hope for victimized students. Between grade 2 per 3 and 7 per 8, 15% to 20% of students continue to bully. Kumpulainen and etc. And has larger 2007 found that 43% of 10 to 13 years old continued to be seen by peers as victims 3 years later. Across the longest interval examined to date, Surrender, Helenius, and etc. found that 12% of boys and 6% of girls were consistently bullied from 8 to 16. For this youth, there seems little optimism for change. Research over the past few decades has documented links between victimization and a host of negative mental health, social, and academic outcomes. See card, etc. With increasing evidence that victimization can get under the skin, impacting neurobiological functioning, see Landcourt, etc. McDougall and Vaillancourt 2005 move beyond one-time snapshot correlates to provide a critical analysis of research on the longitudinal impact of peer victimization over the years of childhood and adolescence, with a focus on how peer victimization during the school years plays out for adjustment in adulthood. The many phases of bullying. Bullying takes many forms, from direct psychical harm, past physical bullying, to verbal taunts and threats, verbal bullying, to exclusion, humiliation, and rumor spreading, relational or social bullying, to electronic harassment using text, email, or online medium, cyberbullying. Although physical and cyberbullying are often of greatest concern, social and verbal bullying are the more common forms experienced by students. For example, Phelan Trims et al. Found that 31% of grade 4 through 12 students reported being psychically bullied by peers and 12% reported being cyberbullied, whereas 51% and 37% reported being verbally and socially bullied, respectively. Students are often aware of rules prohibiting psychical harm to others, but verbal and social bullying are more difficult to identify. Adults rely on youth to report bullying, especially in its more covert forms, and classrooms in which students are more willing to report bullying are characterized by less, not more, victimization, cowardice, and so on, etc. Yet youth are reluctant to report bullying, given legitimate fears of negative repercussions or ineffective adult responses. Positive relationships between teachers and students may enhance the likelihood of students reporting, e.g. Oliver and Kandapa, 2007. But this relationship is not always observed, and with age, students' willingness to report bullying declines steadily. A surface hints out, etc. Cortez and Cosender first led 2014 found that students were more likely to report bullying when they believed that teachers would respond actively by involving parents and or separating the students involved, and less likely to report when they expected teachers to punish the perpetrator, presumably for fear of retaliation or ridicule. Both boys and girls engage in all forms of bullying, but sex differences are also evident, the most consistent being boys' greater involvement in psychological and physical bullying, e.g. larger sparse, etc. Some studies show higher rates of relational, verbal, and cyberbullying among girls, etc. But sex differences don't emerge in all studies, e.g. cowardice, etc. Future research needed to understand the impact of these different forms of bullying, although a growing body of research suggests that cyberbullying is more distinct from traditional or face-to-face forms than originally thought. Different types of bullies. Over the past 40 years, stereotypes of bullies as socially incompetent youth who rely on psychical coercion to resolve conflicts have diminished as studies document wide individual differences among children who bully. In his early research, Always 1978-1993 distinguished between children who bully others and those who both bully others and are victimized. These bully victims have been characterized as hyperactive, impulsive, and as experiencing more rejection, more academic difficulties, and more stressful and harsh home environments, but represent only a small portion, 1% to 12% of students, Dolmus et al., etc. Over the past 4 decades, research has also shown that many bullies are socially intelligent and enjoy considerable status in the peer group, Felncourt et al. 2003. Leading to distinction between socially marginalized and socially integrated bullies, Farmer et al. 2010, adults may be less able to recognize bullying perpetrated by students who appear to be socially competent, well-functioning individuals. Moreover, if bullying is viewed as a reflection of power and status in the peer group, it's difficult to convince students to abandon such behavior in their review of our current understanding of bullying. Rodkin et al. 2015 critically evaluate evidence for various subtypes of bullies and explore the mechanism and motivations underlying them. Can we effectively address bullying? Given a growing body of evidence on the concurrent and long-term consequences of bullying for both bullies, see Rodkin et al. 2015, and victims, considerable emphasis has been placed on finding the most effective ways to address bullying, clinically, legally, and educationally. This research is the focus on the 3 articles in this special issue, as research in psychology and neuroscience emphasize the interaction of individual vulnerabilities, context, effects, and experiences with bullying and victimization, explore the utility of a social ecological diathesis stress model for understanding bullying as a systemic problem, with efforts to address bullying by impacting the context in which such behaviors occurs. Cornell and Limber 2015 review current efforts to address bullying in the United States through legal and policy decisions and their implications. Finally, Bradshaw 2015 provides a critical analysis of researchers on how schools can best address the problem of bullying, reviewing evidence for the effectiveness of school-wide universal anti-bullying programs. Research over the past 4 decades on school bullying has contributed greatly to our understanding of the complexity of the problem as well as the challenges we face in addressing it. Although questions still outnumber answers, our hope is that this special issue serves as an impetus for further research on bullying as well as greater efforts to address the problem. In the words of one victimized youth, in conclusion, there is no conclusion to what children who are bullied live with. They take it home with them at night, it lives inside them, and eats away at them. It never ends, so neither should or struggle to end it. Sarah, 8/9/8/16. In this article, I would like give some comments, and my comments is bullying can affect everyone. Those who are bullied, those who bully, and those who witness bullying. Bullying is linked to many negative outcomes, including impacts on mental health, substance use, and suicide. It's important to talk to kids to determine whether bullying or something else is a concern. Okay, thank you for the attention, sir. Goodbye and see you.